They want you to stop drinking for the environment. And when I say they, I mean the World Economic Forum. You know those guys, those unelected leaders of the WEF? Yeah, those guys. Man, we can't go a day without these unelected leaders telling us what we should, what we shouldn't do. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But coffee? I mean, come on. You're gonna need a lot of luck to get people to just stop drinking that stuff. Unless you, of course, force them not to. It's like telling everybody in the world to just stop eating burgers at McDonald's or French fries at Chick-fil-A or pizzas at Pizza Hut. You know what I'm saying? Maybe even coffee at Starbucks. For some people, coffee is basically their life. So why does the WEF want us to get rid of it? Well, as it turns out, it produces a lot of CO2 emissions.
Get this, the climate cult are coming for our coffee. I am not even exaggerating. I know it sounds like a nightmare, but here it is from the horse's mouth. The man you're about to hear from is Swiss banker and World Economic Forum agenda contributor, Hubert. What's his last name? It's very important. Ingrain this into your brain. Hubert Keller. And here's what he has to say about your morning brew.
We're having our coffee before the session, and you raised the coffee example. I'd love just to give you the chance to expand on that.
Basically, the coffee that we all drink emits between 15 and 20 tons of CO2 per ton of coffee. So we should all know that. This is every time we drink coffee, we are basically putting CO2 into the atmosphere.
Wait a second. They said that they literally just had coffee before the talk, right? So does this mean that billionaires in Davos can enjoy piping hot coffee, but everybody else outside of this little circle of elite leaders is not allowed to drink coffee because of emissions? Did I understand this right? Like, what the actual heck is this, right? How elitist can they get? So they want us to stop drinking coffee for the environment, but they're not going to do the same. By the way, you guys liking these videos and sharing them really helps out the channel a lot. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for doing that. I mean, I got a question. How many freaking cups of coffee do we need to drink in order to produce as much emissions as their private jets every single time that they meet up in like Davos, Switzerland or something, right?
Flying private. The other Mile High Club. From celebs to billionaire entrepreneurs, those who can afford it, board it. Perhaps few events evoke the private jet-setting crowd like the annual World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, where the world's business and political elite gather to, among other things, advance international climate policy. Flight data gathered by the now-defunct Twitter accounts Celebrity Jets and Elon Jet lifted that veil, exposing not only the frequency, but the extreme brevity of private jet flights among the upper crust. From Kylie Jenner's infamous 17-minute private jet ride from LA to Camarillo, to Drake's 18-minute jaunt in his home province of Ontario, celebrities appeared to be using their jets the way ordinary folks make trips to the grocery store.
Now at this point, do they just want to kind of like target everything that we enjoy in life? All right, so let's list it out, okay? So if you're a part of the common folks, you know, you can't travel as much because planes create emissions. You also can't go on road trips because gas-powered cars do the same thing. You also can't eat meat, nor can you drink coffee. I mean, it's now getting to a point where it feels like we're just kind of being put into like a very small cell. Do any of you guys feel the same way? It's like we're being enclosed into a very small set of rules that applies only to us. But before I get any deeper into this thing, will any of you guys like consider quitting coffee for the World Economic Forum? What if they sent you a personalized letter in the mail saying, hey, Mr. John or Mr. Thompson, we would like to ask that you stop drinking coffee effective immediately? Like, how would you respond to that? Unbelievable. And in the same light, have they ever tried to do a study as to how much CO2 emissions are generated by these Davos meetings and gatherings? Oh, wait. They probably wouldn't fund that kind of study. They're not going to put themselves on blast. But this is not the first time that they've tried to target our coffee guys. No, sir. Check this out. So in 2019, they released this article that criticized just how much water goes into your morning cup of coffee. And in 2021, they argued that the best cup of coffee is the one that's grown in a lab. Oh yeah, they want us to just eat, drink all this lab-grown stuff. You know, I told my friend about this before I recorded this video. This is basically how it went. I said, hey, did you know that the WEF is trying to stop people from drinking coffee? To which he responded by saying, I get that they want us to stop eating meat and all that nonsense, but the minute they touch coffee, then they better be prepared to face the consequences. So we both laughed about it, but we both knew it was that serious. Now, of course, there's also people in the world that would move mountains just to drink a cup of coffee. I mean, I know people who literally will drive 15 miles for the next Starbucks. I'm pretty sure every one of us knows at least one person that loves coffee that much, right? Yet instead of talking to companies that produce emissions, much like their private jets, they're instead targeting the consumers. Now, if the climate doesn't recover, then it's because we collectively decided to keep drinking coffee, or to keep using our gas-powered cars, or maybe even eat steak every now and then. It's our fault. It is that serious. I mean, like, how insane is that, right? And to be honest, guys, I really haven't seen them prove to us that CO2 emissions can actually cause that much damage to our climate or to the environment. But the warning is that we're going to see natural disasters hit us so much more, right? Because that's what they're worried about. They're worried about the temperature of the world together with how this is going to affect natural disasters, right?
The United Nations, for instance, predicted that we would get a 40% increase in disasters between 2015 and 2030. So still 7 years to go. Do you believe them?
That's an unfortunate abuse of statistics. They took a data set that shows an increase in disasters because of better reporting around the world from the 1970s, and they drew a line through it and extended it to 2030. The reality is that since 2000, the number of global disasters has been flat or slightly declining, which is really good news. It means that the world is doing better with respect to disasters. Disasters require a combination of an exposed population, vulnerability, and an extreme event. So when we look for trends in climate, we should always look at climate data, not disaster data.
That makes a lot of sense, huh? Because how else can you say that something's happening if it's not being tracked? But wait, hang on a second. Haven't we been tracking the heat? Well, yes, we have actually. And what does that number look like? Check this out. So I'm not sure what happened back in like 1930, but as you guys can see here, the heat hasn't changed much in modern times. Now, I'm not sure how much they want us to interpret this, but I'm pretty sure that stopping us from drinking coffee wouldn't really help this chart. And to be completely frank, it looks like it doesn't need to change that much at all. But here's the most insane thing that I've seen in a long time. And I've seen a lot, okay, guys? But what would you say if these elites, these globalists, told you to reduce your carbon footprint, you would have to get rid of your pets? I'm not kidding, guys. I'm dead serious. So get this, they're now trying to tell us that if we own pets, then our carbon footprint is bigger compared to those who don't. In fact, if you own 3 dogs, your estimated CO2 carbon emission footprint would be around 2.1 tons annually. I know, I've talked a lot about conspiracy theories, many of which were actually proven true, by the way, but this really takes the cake in terms of craziness. They're also telling us that the size of our pet matters. So the smaller your pet is, the smaller the carbon paw print, especially as this is directly connected to their diets. So if your dog's out there farting a lot, hey, your carbon footprint just went up a notch. So now we can't have dogs, we can't have cats that are too big, huh? But what do you guys think about all this? I, for one, will continue to get these updates to you guys every step of the way or every moment that they come out. So definitely, I appreciate you guys for liking the videos. Thank you for subscribing, and I'm gonna catch you on the next one.